Welcome to the Necessary Entrepreneur Podcast, where we dive deep into the stories and strategies of those who are making waves in the world of business. Today, we have a dynamic duo joining us who are not only redefining rural entrepreneurship, but also embracing the spirit of adventure with a unique blend of passion and innovation. You'll meet Tony Wright and Rachelle Wright, the creative minds behind Kentucky Farm Life and Roadtripzee. From the picturesque landscapes of Kentucky, Tony and Rachelle have been transforming their farming roots into a thriving business, bridging the gap between traditional agriculture and modern entrepreneurial ventures. Their journey is a testament to the power of combining heritage with innovation. Kentucky Farm Life is not just about agriculture. It's a celebration of a way of life, showcasing the beauty of farm living and the value of sustainable practices. Through their engaging content and community-driven approach, they've built a platform that connects with audiences who appreciate the richness of rural life. But that's not all. Tony and Rachelle are also the driving force behind Roadtripzee, a venture that merges their love for exploration with their entrepreneurial spirit. Roadtripzee offers a fresh perspective on travel, blending practical advice with captivating stories from the road, making every journey an adventure worth sharing through all 50 states. Join us as we explore Tony and Rachelle's entrepreneurial journey, their innovative approaches to blending farm life with modern business, and how they've managed to turn their passions into successful enterprises. Whether you're an aspiring entrepreneur or simply curious about the intersection of tradition and innovation, this episode is packed with insights you won't want to miss. Thank you guys for coming up today. And
thanks for having us.
Yeah. Tony and Rachelle Wright. Sounds like just a couple normal names here for a couple normal folks just operating a farm in central Kentucky.
Very regular.
Yeah, regular people.
But you're entrepreneurs at heart because you have many things going on. So I want to know what operating a farm. You have you do a lot of content stuff. We'll get into tourism. We'll get into trails around Kentucky. But I want to know, you have a brand that is Kentucky Farm Life. You go on YouTube. You can find it.
Yeah,
60,000 subscribers, 60,000 plus. Lots of videos. It's about a farm that's pretty much a cow and calf operation, right?
Yeah.
Tell us about running a farm in central Kentucky over 35 plus years.
Lots of changes, lots of ebbs and flows. We were primarily tobacco farmers for, 30 years.
Definitely over 25.
Yeah. And that was kind of the meat of the farm's income. Of course, we've always had beef cattle, cow-calf operation in there with that. But over the years, the tobacco program kind of played out, and beef cattle operation became the sole source of income for the farm.
What was that like when life was coming to an end? Because here in northern Kentucky, I had people I knew well, their families had tobacco farms too. And they actually ended up selling up here, moving down to Paris, and bought a farm down there. And but tell us what was going on emotionally when you were dealing with that change of the tobacco businesses going away, when it was your entire livelihood.
How can I take that for a second? Because he really set the stage for us to make that transition beautifully. I would have done some different farm operational. I would have made some different decisions a decade before it ended. But he decided with infinite wisdom that for us, not for everyone, but for us, what the wisest course was to do what we could do ourselves. So the most tobacco we ever had was 33 acres, which is a ridiculous number still, but we could manage it ourselves. And so he really had set the tone for, we're going to do what we can do. We're not going to bring in a bunch of people. We're not going to go too far out of our comfort zone. So as things were coming to an end, it wasn't devastating for us.
Why? Because the mindset, we're going to do what we can do? Do you think that?
Well, I think the old adage "go big or go home" doesn't always apply to every situation in life, and I don't think it applied for us anyway with farming. For us, we didn't want to go big or go home. We wanted to
Stay home.
scale down and do what we could do and not have an extraordinarily amount of overhead to have to deal with. And so we did.
Was that easier to handle the ups and downs probably?
Yes,
And the
absolutely.
change.
Absolutely.
And the transition. Was it scary to go from tobacco is going to be gone and we have to figure out a new way to do this?
Sure, because you're losing a huge part of your income,
Yeah.
and you have to compensate for that somehow.
When did that happen? Around 2000? When did
2016 was our last
Okay. I couldn't remember.
tobacco crop. Yeah.
was it really?
But
Yeah.
again, part of what he had done is he had set us up where everything was paid for. So we didn't have a farm payment. We didn't have a tractor payment. We didn't have.
Where'd you learn that from? Where'd that approach come from?
I guess just trial and error, mistakes and successes. Just a lifetime of learning, really.
Probably being underwater. I tell you what, debt and financial constraint is some of the worst feeling in life.
Well, and I grew up on a small farm, one of 8 kids. There were 10 of us in a 1,200 square foot house, and we had hogs and cows and chickens and tobacco crop and timber, and we hunt and fished. And I think it was just naturally a learning process my entire life growing up, that you have all these resources right around you. It doesn't take a lot of money to utilize those resources, and why not?
Can you still operate that way in 2024 with that attitude, with a lot of resources around us and being self-sufficient?
Yes.
You can.
Yes.
But of course, we can now because of what we have and have been given prior.
Yeah.
We have resources. Not everyone does, and
Yeah.
we recognize that. So we are very fortunate.
I don't think you couldn't go out and just start all this from scratch, and I mean it would be very difficult to earn a living.
A beef operation, a farm.
Solely farming.
Yeah.
Now, if you had other sources of income that were
feeding that.
We call it off the farm income.
Yeah.
If you have some off the farm income, you can. But Tony and I were both in college in the 80s, and we both took an ag class with Colonel Spiller, who was quite the character, and he filled an entire, at that time it was a blackboard, not a dry erase, with the mathematical improbability that anyone could enter agriculture from zero. You really have to have been handed some land, handed some equipment. You have to have, you can't just start at nothing. Handed, $500,000 to make the purchases that you need or whatever. You can earn income, but you can't really make a living without having some base to begin with, which is true of so many businesses.
Yeah, it is, isn't it? And I think that's why it's important for us to hand off from generation to generation. I'm sure that you guys are, it used to be, it felt like it was the responsibility of parents generationally to just help your kids take one more step up. Mm-hmm. Right? You had the feeling like,
absolutely.
Let me just have them just live a little bit better life than me.
Yeah.
Mm-hmm.
Right? There's some error in that thought too, because you're taking away some of the struggle.
Yeah.
Right?
Yeah.
So what are you all seeing with did you come from a big family as well?
I'm an only child.
Are you? What in the world? How's this work?
Can you sympathize with how tough my life has been?
Especially in the beginning.
Well, tell us, Tony.
It was rough. It was rough.
We better not go there today.
We're doing fine now.
We've worked
Dave,
through all these.
Yeah, we'll just leave it there. But yeah, so I'm an only child, and it was.
What'd your siblings think of her?
They weren't so sure.
They weren't so sure about her. My mom was not so sure about her either.
Yeah.
But he had it all worked out.
Yeah.
It's fine.
Have you seen, since you all are you have a content company and you do a lot on social media now?
We do.
There is this judge online. He's an older guy, where it was just some I don't know. It was like tickets and small little expenses in the city, and he would bring people for him. It was semi-comedy, but it was a legit judge, and he'd listen to them, and you'd feel his empathy for people. And there's one where a husband and a wife, it looked like they were probably in their 80s, they came on, and he was driving her car. So the ticket came to her, and she got up there throwing him under the bus, telling the judge, "This ain't my ticket. This is not my responsibility. He was driving the car that day." And then she looked over at him and said, "Isn't that right, honey?" And the judge said, "Sir, is this every day of your life?" And then she interrupted and she said again, she said, "Yeah, but you love me. Isn't that right, honey?" And he went, "Judge, yes, sir."
Yeah.
That's kind of how it goes.
It is.
So what do the siblings feel about this situation now?
Oh, I think it's fine. It's all good. I think they know that we have built a good life together.
Yeah, it's a good statement.
Mm-hmm.
Well, so what about these 3 kids that are now helping you run and grow these businesses, and now it's expanding? Because I'm assuming you couldn't be building what you are because they're now resources as well, right?
They are very much
Very much,
resources.
yeah.
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 Now they all have their own lives that they're building as well, and their own full-time jobs, and they work with us, as they can. And I'm cautious to ask them to take on more, but you kind of, you grow when you raise children, you're supposed to be students of them, right? Just like you're getting a degree in whatever, you're supposed to know them. So that has come in handy when you can ask too much or not enough or whatever. So, but yeah, they're past the what'd you say, the awkward early adult years.
Yeah.
Where we navigated all of that, and so they
have their own identity now.
They do.
Very much. Yeah.
Did you get 3 different degrees raising them?
Absolutely.
Yeah.
Absolutely.
Well, I saw that. I saw some eyes raised.
Absolutely.
Yes.
Yeah. And we tried to foster in them their very independent natures and spirits. So
was that intentional? Was that conversations between you all growing up about that? Like saying, trying to, like, that's pretty intelligent to say that. Fostering independence, and that's well thought out.
Yeah, I mean, those were conversations that she and I would have late at night, by ourselves and in isolation, away from the kids, that we want them to be individuals and be intelligent enough to figure things out and make their own decisions and chart their own course and be their own people to build the life they want to live. It may not be the farm. It may not be anything similar to what we have.
It may not be
built.
Content. It may not be agriculture.
And so they've done that. But they've all wanted to stay connected to a little bit of what we've built.
You know why they probably did? Probably because you took the approach you did. You didn't shove anything down their throat. You let them choose. You let them grow independently.
Yeah.
And I think at the end of the day, we all want to come back to like this tribe that we're from, to the people that we truly love and that we care about. Whatever's going on, we want to come back and be a part of it. Versus if you would have pushed it down their throat, they probably would have still been fighting it.
Yeah.
Most likely.
That is our nature.
Yeah. Where'd that come from? So there is some shared stuff that you guys just had inside of you, right?
Sure.
1 of 8 or 10 or 1 of 1.
Sure.
Right?
Yeah.
Sure. Well, I mean, marriage, period, is
Yeah.
super important, that you talk it through until you're on the same page.
Communication, right?
Yeah. And if you can't get on the same page, then you really just have to stay still for a while until you can move forward in the same way. I mean, you can do it differently. Everybody can, but it's, for us, it was always pretty not fun / to the other scale of disastrous, So there's been a lot of nights and days that we've been like, what are you thinking about this now? in a lot of areas, whether it's business. And we had a big conversation this morning about the sustainability of certain things we do. And so, you really have to kind of just, and I'm a quick decider and he's a slow decider. And so I know that I have to give him time and space over days or weeks to think about things sometimes. And then, so it's not a quick get on the same page. But yeah, it's the way it works for us.
Yeah. So this sustainability thing, is it some conversation? Is some of that conversation can we talk about here?
Sure.
Well, let's go to talk about it. Whatever
Sure.
you guys are doing, and is it sustainable, and the operations and what you're running. So where are you at currently with multiple businesses here, and what's that conversation you were having?
So I think we all have situations. If you are a serial entrepreneur, I don't know how I feel about that label, but if you're handed many pies, or then you have things that you will always rob Peter to pay Paul somewhat. And we were talking this morning about, we probably need to, before we give money from one pot to the other, almost treat ourselves like a bank, and say, and we don't really do that much. We kind of, just go, okay, are we willing to give 10,000 for this to whatever? But so just, we were having that type of conversation about, should we require a business plan from ourselves before we, but back to the farm for a second. My dad has always said, cattle make money while you sleep, So back then the phrase passive income wasn't really a thing, but that is what Dad always said.
Oh, we could talk about that term. I hate that term. Because there's nothing in my life that's been passive.
Yeah.
There's not. Like, they are growing and making money, but you're still up at 3 a.m. I don't know what time you get up on the farm, but you're still getting up.
Sure.
Well, and he spent 40, 60 hours over the last week cutting hay and raking hay, and so yes, it's not completely passive, but with minimal effort.
There you go. Are there some things that can be operating in the background, right, that are continuing to move it forward while you don't have to put in effort?
And the thing about farming is you've really got to be in it for the long haul, because you're gonna hit the ups and downs. The market, when the market's good, you're gonna ride those waves, and when they're low, you just got to hang in and continue, because at some point it's going to get back up.
Isn't that life, though?
It is life.
It
is life.
Friendships, marriages, right?
Relationships,
siblings.
Yeah,
Sure.
I mean,
all of it.
We've rode some waves in our own marriage.
Who hasn't over 35 years?
Yeah.
Like, I think that people that are living in this place that are just looking for like elated happiness every day of their lives, life's tough.
Yeah.
Like what you just said about operating a farm. There's just days and sometimes weeks and months and sometimes years. It's just not going the way you want. But if you keep going, it's going to work itself out.
Absolutely.
Right?
Yep.
And so that willingness, I bet your kids, I bet you pass this on to them, this idea. They'll probably have strong relationships because of this idea. They probably will.
We hope so.
Yeah. I mean, there's no guarantee. This is a different life now.
Yeah.
Sure.
Right? I talked to someone the other day. Me and my significant other, we're not married, but we've been together a long time. I'm sure she would have, maybe marched down that aisle or whatever, but 16 years.
That's
and
a significant time.
It's a long time, right? And so somebody said the other day, like, we're not taking any relationship advice from you because you haven't been married yet. And I took a step back and I went, hey, how many marriages do you know these days that last 16 years? And they went, good point.
Yeah.
Right.
Great point.
Yeah. And so it's unfortunate. It's not the place that we grew up. I grew up when the expectation was, what do you mean? It's just started after 16 years. Right. So there's no guarantee. She's laughing about something here.
No, it's better.
Yeah.
I mean, it just gets better for us.
It gets like you guys sitting here today. It feels like you just met. It feels like you're still excited.
Sure. I mean, when we hit that 20-year mark, that's when it really began to get good.
Why do you think that is?
Maybe like wine. Wine gets better over time and with aging.
Yeah. And you got to know each other.
Yeah.
Know how to deal with each other better.
Sure.
Right?
Yeah, and we began to communicate below the surface, on deeper levels beyond parenting and bills and cattle operations and surface level things.
All the normal stresses of life. Yeah.
Yeah.
Is he the farmer that so many people in the area like go to and would ask questions of, or is he kind of just stay to his own and just kind of doesn't mess with? Because he seems like he's like
a sage.
He seems like he's Mr. Reliable at such a level. That's what it feels like to me. Like, this is Mr. Reliable.
He's if he is going after it, you can consider it done. You know, he that's just who he has always been. Again, I try to use that knowledge in moderation.
Yeah. How special is that to be with somebody in life that just lets you go out here? Because you came in with these high-flying sunglasses, just looking as fashionista as you wanted to. I'm telling you what, you didn't come from the farm. You stopped by the farm to pick him up from the fashion shop in the city. That's what happened. She's got a boutique somewhere. I'm telling you, Tony, she does.
I had no intention of marrying a farmer.
What the hell happened? You just saw him and went, well, I got to have that boy.
Listen, do you really want to know the origin story? It's good.
Yeah, we want to hear it. Yeah.
Okay, so.
She said she would never marry a farmer.
Yeah. I saw him when I was 12 for the first time. And I know it's ridiculous, but I was cheering a junior high a basketball game, and he was playing for the opposite team. And I just remember, like, oh my gosh. And I waited very patiently for 5 years for him to notice me. We were 17 when I finally got some time with him. And so we were about to graduate from high school. We were not high school sweethearts, but we had been kind of talking in the weeks leading up to graduation. Talking meaning not what it means now. I mean, like talking in the halls at school. And he had asked me if I was going to a certain graduation party. I said, sure. So he ended up there. We graduated together that night. He ended up there. I was there. Old boyfriend was there. Tony was there, but he wasn't really, seeking me out in any way. So old boyfriend. You
didn't think so?
Yeah, maybe. Mm-hmm. You're right. Fair point. So old boyfriend, though, was like, do you want to go ahead and get out of here? And so I was like, okay, because Tony doesn't seem to be interested at all. So left a graduation party with old boyfriend. And you know what they say? The night you graduate, you'll never see them again. Right? So old boyfriend brought me home about 1:00 in the morning, which was late for my curfew because very strict parents. And I got out of old boyfriend's car and was walking to my door. And all of a sudden, my parents live in a subdivision. The lights at the top of the hill in the subdivision come on, the car lights. And it's Tony's car. And he pulls into the driveway before I even get to the door. This is still so emotional. And I thought, well, because he had come over and we'd eaten peanut butter after curfew or whatever, peanut butter and crackers one night. And I thought, well, maybe he's just here to eat peanut butter and crackers. Or if he really was interested in me, he's going to be so mad. It's going to go one way or the other. And I walked down to his car and he rolled his window down and he said, I just needed to make sure you got home okay. And that was it. That was it.
Of course, that's it.
That was it.
You felt that too, didn't you?
I did. Yeah.
So what's your version of this night? She was on your mind the whole night?
Yes. Yeah. See, I was, and still very much am, a slow decider. I think and ponder and deliberate, and then I decide. And once I decide, there's no turning back. She, on the other hand, immediately decides, thinks about her decision immediately, and feels good about it.
It's accurate.
And all of that happens instantaneously.
Yeah.
And somewhere in between, we get stuff done and we build a life.
Yeah.
How in the world did this idea, and I'm assuming that you drove from the farm that night. Had you gone home and then come back to see her and you gained the gumption or the confidence to drive by her house?
No, I had stayed out, all night.
Okay. All right. Probably doing a few things you shouldn't have been.
Absolutely.
Yep. I remember in the country you did a few things that we get in big time trouble for these days.
Yes.
So how do you all then wake up, big transition, 2016, you're a tobacco operation with a few cows here and there, right? Mm-hmm. And you start doing social media and content, and all of a sudden this idea of this Kentucky farm life, where's this idea come from?
It came from one of our daughters who had brought a friend home who had never been on the farm. So our middle child lives in Henderson, and she came home for like pumpkin carving, and we'll build a campfire and stuff like that. And it was the rise of TikTok. Is when TikTok was, happening. And the friend Ashley said, "You all should TikTok all of this." And I said, "Ashley, what should we TikTok?" And she said, like the feed bucket there and the whatever. And so we listened to Ashley, knowing we had already started the media company at this point.
Okay.
So I knew that I was going to have to gain familiarity with TikTok anyway.
Okay. So when you start the media company, let's come back to Ashley, but why did you start the media company?
So I was in Horse Cave, leaving a store. I had just started working for a publishing company. Well, first of all, I taught school.
Okay. So you were a teacher.
I was a teacher.
Yeah.
I decided I wanted to stay home with our kids.
Where'd you go to EKU or something? Did you go to Eastern?
Western
You did?
University.
Okay.
Yeah.
Eastern puts out a lot of teachers, so
Yeah.
you went to Western.
And so I decided I wanted to stay home. I asked Tony, can we make this happen? He said, he's one of those guys. Just tell me what we need to do. If that's what you feel like we need to do, we'll do that. So I thought I'd stay home for a couple of years. 18 years later, I finally decided I would get something, going on the side. So I started working for a publishing company, doing layout in Adobe and things like that. Loved it. But anyway, I was back in Horse Cave, coming out of a store, and one of the tourism directors in our area was walking in, and she said, "I hear you're working for this publishing company now. Are you ready to go back to work?" And I said, "Oh, let's not get crazy." So I heard her out. She offered me a job in tourism, and Tony and I talked about it. A year later, I called her back and said, "I think I'm ready." So I started working for her part-time, just doing frontline stuff like meeting, greeting people. But because we had these teenagers and I knew more about social media than most people, just vicariously through them, she asked me if I would be interested in doing content for this new thing called Instagram.
This new thing called Instagram.
This new thing called Instagram.
Yeah.
And that's really what happened. And then a tourism friend of hers gave me a call. "Well, could you with us?" And then so now I think we counted them up the other day. We have 25 clients that we do social media for. And that's actually, I think we've added 2 since then. So I think we're at 27.
That lady that worked for the tourism board or what it would have been, how long had you known her?
Really did not know her well at all.
Through someone else.
Vicariously, in the community. I would see her at community events.
But you had a brand. She knew you. She heard of you. She heard you were doing this thing, right? Leads to how you act, opportunities that they lend to later in life, right? How you treat people, the way that you lead, the way that you work, all those sorts of things. Because she wouldn't have said, "Hey, do you want to do this thing with me?" if she didn't already have an opinion of you.
I would.
Right.
That is true of us as humans, I do believe.
Yeah.
Yes.
Yeah. So now you have 27 clients. You've added 20. What's the average day look like in helping a client with Instagram, TikTok, Facebook? I don't know if you mess with LinkedIn too much, YouTube, all these platforms.
Right.
What's it look like helping these clients out?
The most important thing we think of is making sure they have good content, and we also want to make sure we are speaking with their voice. So there's a lot that goes into, we consider ourselves a very small batch media company. We're not going to give you canned content that is scheduled out on a year-long content calendar. I admire those people who can do that. I think that's great. That is not us. We will give you a month or 2 ahead because so many things ebb and flow with businesses, especially smaller businesses or tourism commissions. We work for several tourism commissions.
Okay.
There'll be events that pop up that we need to promote or, things. So we're very, lots of communication.
Yeah, or like farmers markets where things are seasonal and what's available in April may not be available in August. And so you've got to to transition with that.
Does she make you carry an iPhone 15 with you on the tractor all the time?
Yes.
It is true.
How have you taken to this?
Very well, I believe. You know, I'm a supporter. I'm a behind the scenes kind of guy. I'm a checklist kind of guy. Make me a list, I'll get it done. She's the creative, the spur of the moment, the spontaneous. I'm the tried and true,
The reliable guy.
the reliable, loyal to a fault guy. Yeah.
There's a kid on Instagram right now, little farm boy. He looks like from Oklahoma or something. Wears a tall hat, and he's just walking around talking about tractors all the time. You know who I'm talking about? I don't know who he is. He's Wrangler jeans. He's got the button-up flannel, and he's so hilarious. But I'm like, of course this kid's viral. He's like, well, you know, it's one of the farm malls and back in the day. And I'm like, this kid is talking about stuff 50, 60, 70 years ago, right?
Sure.
Massey Ferguson, before that, did y'all know it was Massey whatever? And it's 8, 10-year-old kid, and people come up and talk to him, and now they know him. And it's wild if you just talk about your thing.
Yes.
Yeah.
Right?
The real. Yeah. You know, the other day, not the other day, a couple of months ago, I was cutting hay, and there was a deer that come out with her 2 babies and started nursing right there in the field while I was cutting hay. I stopped for a minute and shot a video, a few seconds, sent it to her. She posted it, and how many views?
It's millions now.
1.7 million views.
You guys you're cruel. You know we're gonna love watching that stuff. How dare
Exactly.
you put Bambi and Bambi's brother? That's dirty.
It is.
But I think it's what people want to see. They want to see something authentic, real, everyday happenings. You know, that wasn't produced.
Correct.
It wasn't set up. It wasn't on a stage. Didn't have all the lights. It was just.
Gary Vaynerchuk says, document, don't create.
Yeah.
He says, document what you have going on. That's the best way.
Yeah.
Right? We can create it because we all do create these things.
Sure.
But if you document your day, it's way better.
Mhm.
I
love listening to him.
His new book, I just started reading it.
Okay.
Yeah. Day Trading Attention.
Okay.
I think I talked to some of my friends in Dallas, some of these content guys, and they write some books about content strategy and stuff. But one called me the other day that's actually been on Gary's podcast. And I mean, that's elite level stuff in the world of podcasting, right? And he said, man, I just picked up his book and I haven't been this excited. This is a guy that's paid tens of thousands of dollars to speak on stage for 45 minutes. And he said, I haven't been this excited and this reinvigorated about what we do than reading this book in the past few years. And then our in-house content, she's our training director, but she does a lot of content and stuff for us as we're starting to build what we're doing. She read it while she was in Portugal. She had a trip to Portugal and Dublin recently for a wedding for some family members. And she came back and she said, Gary V just gave us the best gift. He documented exactly what to do, mindset all the time, what platforms, algorithms. It's incredible. So I started listening to it on Audible last night and reading it. It's incredible.
Can't wait.
Yeah, it's awesome. And so all we have to do then is just do it.
It's the doing.
Yeah, so many of us have a problem with the discipline doing, right?
It's the consistency. We are determined to give you a real short video every day from the farm.
Wow.
Yeah.
Okay.
And that takes, like what's the 30 seconds going to be today? But really our audience, which has grown, and you're always surprised when the community shows up and it's like, oh, okay, they do want to see this. Ashley was right. They have told us what they want. I thought in the beginning that I needed to splice and dice and edit and overdub music and things like that. A little transition here and there. They don't want that.
What they say they want?
They want to hear the rooster crow.
Authenticity.
And the cows moo. And the dogs bark and the birds chirping and the wind blowing and the rain hitting the barn roof and,
the tractor running.
And they want to see what's right in front of us.
Yeah.
So now they do love it when I'm out there videoing and so you can see him or, someone else. They love that. So, and my parents, can we talk about my parents for a second?
Let's go.
Adorable. They're 81 and 82. And they have become low-level production as well for us. So 2 days ago, yesterday, my dad filmed my mom with our 1-year-old grandson, teaching him how to shuck sweet corn to put it up for the winter. Now, let me just say, his skills are pretty good at filming, and they sent something I just cut a slice off of, and
that got a lot of views.
yes,
Yep.
people love. We call them Granny there's like Granny in the kitchen and Granny in the garden, and we don't do a lot of that, but they are always super popular. One of the first comments that we got about please don't do that editing thing, Mom was canning green beans in her kitchen, and they knew that her wedding ring would clink against the glass
But
if they could hear it.
Okay.
And that's one of the first comments. Please, we would love to hear this without the music so we can hear her sweet hands.
Hey, thanks for tuning in. Be sure to follow The Necessary Entrepreneur on your favorite social media platforms so you never miss out on engaging content. So great, your mom hitting her wedding
ring against the glass mason jars
for the canning.
Yeah.
I grew up in that life about canning. We had a farm, but it was small.
Yeah.
Our garden was anywhere from a half acre to an acre. That's a huge garden for most folks.
That is big.
It's big.
It's huge.
Well, as we grew up, I grew up that way.
Yeah.
About planting it, about hoeing weeds around all the corn, about picking green beans, about breaking them, stringing them, canning them, all the stuff. Is it true? So we had a patch of watermelons and cantaloupes and melons. Is it true that if you step on any part of the plant, the whole plant dies? Have you heard that? Is that true?
I've heard that. It is not true.
Okay. What's the truth? Just that little part of it. He had me so scared. He had us tiptoeing around every little step on one little leaf, the whole thing dies.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Now, if you damage the bloom, like if there's a patch of watermelons and you've got all these different blooms, if you damage that bloom, then a watermelon's not going to sprout there.
That's about it.
Yeah.
Boy, they tricked me all these years.
Yeah.
They were trying to get you to be overcautious, I'm sure.
Well,
good intentions.
Yeah, I guess it's good intentions. It's good to want to do a great job, but trying to teach perfection, I don't think is right. There's a small little balance there. Because I want it done well. I want it done the right way. But if you're trying to achieve perfection, you're probably not going to take enough action. Probably not going to do enough, right? You're going to be held back a little bit too much. Because that's how we learn, isn't it?
Yeah.
The way I learned that I didn't want to have a farm was through throwing hay on a wagon.
Yeah.
And then throwing it from the wagon up into the barn. I went, This 12-year-old boy in the middle of the summer, all scratched up, and no, I will leave that for Tony, and I will leave that for Rachelle. What are you excited about going forward here? You've launched this new Roadtripzee, right? And it hosts travel journals. I think there's 10 states. Right now, I think North Carolina and maybe Kentucky. Is that right?
Are the largest communities.
So where'd this come from?
Well, so as Kentucky Content, our media company, grew, we learned more about travel. We experienced more opportunities to travel and see things. And we learned that there was so much out there that if people just knew, so it's kind of like, let's just go ahead and document it and see what happens. So that's really all the forethought we gave to this. And then, of course, that was centered around Kentucky, and that's Kentucky Road Trips. And it's a big community. I think there's 140,000 in our Facebook group and nearing 20,000 on the page itself. So that's, of course, our most robust community where we go into like little bitty places and have some biscuits and gravy. People love to see it. They love to know it's there. They love to know that these places still exist.
Places that a guy like me would never even know about. I wouldn't even know to look for.
Yeah.
Yep. In the same state that I was born and grew up in and raised. Even if it's 3 hours away, I would have no idea.
Yeah. And pretty much at every Kentucky crossroads, there was something. It may not exist anymore, but there was. So we didn't know it then, but we realize now we're tapping into this this opportunity to let people know about these people who are still in these little places, who are still working hard. You know, they get up every day and they do their thing. So Kentucky Road Trip specifically really became this opportunity for us to come alongside people who were already working hard and shine a spotlight on them a little bit, let people know that they're still there. I mean, it's just a really feel good thing. And then once we saw the community happening for Kentucky, I'm friends with a business coach, and I was telling him about it. He said, Rachelle, you got to do this for all 50 states. And I was like, shut up. No, there's no.
How'd that go when she came home that afternoon?
You know, by this point, I've after 30 something years of being with her, I just, you know, sure, let's go, let's do it.
Yeah.
You know, I know.
I got to go back to the barn.
Yeah, I got to go check the cows, but I'll be back.
Yeah. Note to self, we may need more money next year, right?
Do more, Tony.
Because again, robbing Peter to pay Paul, right?
Yeah.
That's how it works.
Yeah.
But so yeah, I did it, and we stayed up late one night probably, and the next day we had 50 Facebook groups, and so.
How do you balance this idea of getting really excited about generating the new idea, but then also needing to fulfill the mission of developing? It's no issue.
We have. We have no answer. We have.
And that's the issue.
That's
Yeah.
the issue.
Yeah.
That's the issue.
Yeah.
Boy, wouldn't that be the answer to everyone's? Yeah.
Yeah. Create the idea, fulfill it, stick with it.
Sustainability.
That's it. Yeah. So
Right.
you're having this conversation because you know you can be good farmers and that works.
Sure.
Right. You know that the Kentucky content works. You're
Sure.
developing clients there. You know that this idea of Kentucky tourism and this trails thing, you know that's good. Well, of course it's a great idea to do in all 50 states, but how do you fulfill it? It's good. You know, Tony Robbins, I'm not about all these big gurus and all the thought leaders, but some of them are really, really smart about some things. And I've grabbed on to something I saw him say a year ago until like I move on to my next thing. Like, oh, that's the next thing to really be good and think about. But he talks about the tyranny of how. And he talks about the individuals that stop to ask how. How am I going to do this? And what he says is, you're pretty much screwed if that's you. You got to get started. You got to take action. Like that's your move to get started. And you're like, hey, bump the brakes here a little bit, right? But I think what I find is consistently, probably even in farming, and you see it with your kids and you guys growing up, if you try to figure out the entire plan before you get started, you're not going to get started. That's
right.
it.
You would never begin.
Yeah.
So he talks about the tyranny of house. There's some balance in here. It's important you see the idea and you take some action and you get started. But how do you stop from jumping from thing to thing to thing without actually fulfilling it and making it beneficial and financially sustainable?
Well, and the one thing we definitely have in common and always have is that we want to do what we do well. We don't want to live in mediocrity. So that is like the one thing that will keep me up at night.
Yeah.
Is did I do that well or not? So yes, we are daunted with now the task, because what happened, and I'm a word picture person. So when our friend said, yeah, 50, do it, 50 groups. And so I basically got out 50 Petri dishes, right? And I put a little bit of scraping from what was growing in this one really well into all 50. And then I kind of put them on a shelf and thought, I'll think about that later, right? Well, later happened last year when all of a sudden we have over 10,000 people in our North Carolina community. And I look at Tony and I'm like, they're showing up.
You have responsibility now.
Yeah.
Right.
Yeah.
Right.
Because if something is growing in a Petri dish, it's a living thing.
Yeah.
And you can't just have created an environment for it and not, do what you can to maintain and sustain.
So then it's like, how much money do we invest in hiring people? And so thankfully you have the 3 kids to spend some time with it, right? Because the way the reason why your family had 10 kids, well, they had to because it was free labor.
Exactly.
That's how it was on the farm, right? Let's just
Absolutely.
And you didn't grow up on a farm, so of course there weren't 10 kids, right?
Well, my parents were serial entrepreneurs as well. So The farm we live on, they bought in 1975 at auction. And at the time, they were also racing thoroughbreds. They were both teaching school. They had built the first fast food place in Hart County that served pizza, Raiders Inn, with friends of theirs who were always who were also very entrepreneurial. So yeah, it's a thing, and I could go on and on. I think. I mean, there was an oil company when I was a child. There was, I don't know.
So there's some
Probably
DNA that was passed down
some
there.
DNA.
Oh, sure.
Right.
For her specifically.
The
Yeah, I mean,
DNA of
she's-
doing, for sure. And then, he came in at 17, so he, we've
What-
all been.
What'd your parents think of him?
Oh, my parents are brilliant in so many ways. They knew never to push back as well. So they have embraced him. I mean, I think they always loved
I
him.
mean, what's not to embrace?
What's not to embrace? Now, technically, they love him more.
Yeah.
And you can understand why.
Yep.
Yeah. It's him that gets the text from my parents more than I do.
Yeah.
So, but yeah, I think if you going back a tick or two in the conversation, if you overwhelm yourself with the how, we never begin.
Yeah. 100%. What, going back, I'm not a guy who likes the idea of regret, but
Sure.
I like the idea of learning
Sure.
from the things that didn't go well. If you go back, are there one or two things that you all think about that, we would have done that thing different, like really big, that helps you now go forward? Is there one or two? Doesn't have to be, but is there one or two?
I think during when we knew tobacco was coming to an end, and that there would need to be diversification. That was a big hot button topic in farming, especially in Kentucky, which is such a big burly state. So we tried a lot. We didn't just try a lot. We did. We sold beef from the farm. We participated in farmers market. We had a mobile kitchen for a while.
Mhm.
That was
On a trailer?
Yeah.
Did you kind of build what would look like a food truck now, but it was a kitchen on a trailer.
Basically.
Walls had
We-
sinks, everything in there.
we bought it from someone who was going bigger.
Okay.
So
Yeah. And we loved that. I mean, that was a blast. It was so much fun. Loved it.
What was fun about it?
Taking the thing that you've grown and transitioning and making it into something that you can enjoy.
we had we
Kind of a farm to table type thing. Yeah.
Yeah.
we kind of did a spin on Chef Edward Lee's bourbon bacon jam pimento cheeseburger, and it was all of our beef and it was all of our pork, and that we put through the kitchen. And we realized, if you want some numbers, we realized that we could take one cow, process it out in all hamburger, and make $6,000 off that cow.
Versus selling it for how much?
$700.
At the time, $600 to $700.
How much more effort had to go in to extract that extra $5,300?
A lot.
Yeah. So you needed to do, if you were going to do it, you needed to do multiple cows,
Yes.
Mhm.
right?
Sure.
You needed to do 20 or 30 of them, really,
Right.
because the first one or first two or first three, you're using up all that extra money, figuring it out, all the
Oh.
time, all the energy,
Absolutely.
right?
Yeah. But that was fun, and we wax nostalgic often and say we should do that again, and maybe that we do believe that might be what one of our kids ends up doing,
Okay.
because he was a part of it. He loved it himself. He is cooking now at a restaurant in Knoxville. So
In Tennessee, how did you let that happen?
he
Working.
met this girl on the internet.
Here we go.
Yeah.
Isn't that always what does it? I tell you what,
And
1
we-
o'clock in the morning, he's pulling up and ruins the rest of his life. Good job, Tony. Just wanting to make sure you made it home okay. Jesus, what'd you do to yourself? Huh? Didn't you warn your son?
I know.
Don't do it, son.
Don't do it.
Is it the girl who wrote the thing about something orange or whatever? You've heard that song, this big country star. She's
Oh, no.
apologizing to her Alabama family that she met a dude from Tennessee.
Oh,
And it's about now she's gone orange. And so
love
now
it.
he's gone over the board.
He's in Knoxville.
What's he done to himself?
Yeah.
When I have warned all the young guys that I've ever run across, I'd look at them dead serious in the eyes and say, "Don't get married."
You don't mean it.
But they never listen. No, I don't.
Yeah.
Well, you didn't listen to your nobody. You're just joking around and
I
stuff,
know.
right? Well, as guys, what do we mean when we say that though? Because we all do that. Don't do it, man. You're gonna ruin your life. We're making you privy to a little bit of a conversation.
It's okay.
Let's be
It's
honest.
okay.
Don't do it, man. You're gonna. But of course we go and do it.
Yeah, but I always say it in her presence.
This
So
is good.
I'm kind of goading her just a little bit because, after 30-something years of marriage, I've learned that I rather enjoy a little fire from her, because she can give it. She gets excited.
He likes poking the bear. Huh?
I do.
He does.
Love it.
You have to have fun. I
Mhm.
mean, what's any of it if
Yeah.
you're not really having a great time?
Yeah. What was there one kind of guiding principle that you consistently were teaching the kids, like around the farm and all? That was one thing. There's something you said earlier that I'm like, I bet that's what they were teaching them. But if not, like, I don't want you to think too deep about it.
We have always, our kids are wonderful, average, normal, good citizens. That's what we've tried to never make them think more of themselves than they should. We've tried to never give them, it kind of goes back to leveling each generation up a little bit. We've tried never to make them think they had more than the other person.
Not too entitled here.
Not too entitled.
Humility.
But we always knew and we always felt that our kids' work ethic would be what took them to the place where they could build whatever life they wanted to build.
Why is that? Why is work ethic the thing?
Because without it, you don't get anything done. I mean, if you're continually having to rely on someone else or other people, that may not always work out for you. It doesn't on the farm because farming now, if you can't do it yourself,
nobody's
trouble.
coming to do it for you.
Mm.
If you don't, the old, I don't know if this was from your family. I don't remember where it's become our thing. If you don't work, you don't eat, right? So, I mean, if we knew that raising them as good, strong workers and giving them the experiences like with the hay, where they don't want to go back to that probably, but they know they can. I think that's a huge part of confident living is knowing that you can and that you're not too good to. I think,
and two, we've tried to instill in them just do what you say you'll do. If you say you'll do it, then do it.
and don't say it.
Yeah.
If you don't want,
If you don't mean it, then don't say it.
Do the best you can, right?
Yeah.
That's a part of it.
Yeah.
Like, just do a great job. If you're going to set
just
out,
show up and do the best you can do.
there you go. I think if we do that in every part of life, it ends up okay. Everything ends up okay.
Yeah, it works out.
It does, doesn't it?
Mhm.
Yeah, not every single time, but eventually it works out.
Yes.
You guys had a little drive up here last night. You stayed in Cincinnati. I
We
don't know why you trickled over to that side of the river.
no room in the inn.
Right.
Over here.
We had plenty of ends. Plenty of room. Dave, don't ever let this happen with guests again. They go over to Cincinnati. What's wrong with them? So how was that 3-hour drive? 2.5?
We actually
You made some stops.
we were in Louisville Monday. We were in Lexington Tuesday.
Well, tell us about this journey.
Yeah, it's a road trip.
Look at you guys. What do y'all know about a road trip? Let's go.
Everything is
Everything.
everything becomes a road trip.
Everything
with
is
us.
content.
Everything is content for
Okay.
us.
Let's go there.
Everything is content. If it can't be used for Roadtripzee, it's farm content, or it's content for people we work for. So that's our running. Everything is content.
Yeah.
And
Is that stressful at all?
No, it's kind of just natural because, wherever you go, whatever you do, it can be used for content somewhere. And so it's just kind of
I get questions. I get questions a lot about, aren't you missing the moment? Aren't you robbing yourself? My answer, and I don't think this is a bad answer. I really did think about this when I started getting asked this all the time. I think if anything, it makes me more focused on the moment. We grabbed coffee, it'll be content. I saw that coffee shop in a way I wouldn't have seen that coffee shop had I just been going in to literally get a cup of coffee and walk out. I saw the worn leather green chairs, the beauty of them. I saw the mosaics on the wall. I looked at, it all.
And saw the local coffee shop,
Yeah.
the small establishment
Mm-hmm.
that locals frequent every day of their lives.
and
Where'd
the
you guys go? Which coffee shop? Was it in Cincinnati?
Reality
Tuesdays, right
Yeah.
down the
Yeah.
hill.
Yeah.
She'll love you. We know
Yeah.
them well.
Yeah.
Yeah.
So, I think for us, it becomes, and he does the same thing. You should get a photo of this. Or if I dive into a plate before we've photographed it, he's like, camera first. And, but I mean, we really are a team for sure. And he will take photos and I'll take photos. So, yeah, everything we jokingly say, everything is content, but really with everything we do now, everything is content.
Yeah, I mean, but your mind has to be wired up that way because I saw you take a picture right when we were starting, right? Took a picture of, it's probably going to be a post on the Necessary Entrepreneur, whatever the podcast, all that stuff, right? So I saw that it's important that your mind is just wired up that way.
Mhm.
It's important.
I'm always on.
Yeah.
If I'm awake, I'm
Yeah.
on.
Yeah.
And that's just how my brain works.
What's happening at the farm on this road trip?
Oh, yeah.
Our son-in-law is taking care of the goats and the Great Pyrenees guardian dogs and checking the cattle and stuff while we're going.
Tell us about these Great Pyrenees. Those are serious dogs, right?
They are the best. Yeah. They are fierce protectors.
Susie and Pearl are celebrities on Kentucky Farm Life for sure.
Yeah.
And we didn't know when we got them, but we do now.
Yeah. They live with the goats, the herd of goats, and the chickens and the ducks, and there is no predator that can get to them.
Coyotes, nothing.
Coyotes, buzzards, possums, coons.
They will be torn up by those.
They will be dealt with.
They won't have a good day.
They will not.
You know what? You all are you're shameless. You and your baby goats. Y'all are taking advantage of taking advantage of human hearts. What are y'all doing to us, man?
Yeah.
Yeah. And the answer is yeah.
I know. I can tell. I looked. I was like, oh, they're terrible people. They're eating at our hearts, right? People love them some baby goats, don't they?
They do.
We do too.
And
Though
who,
to be,
who can't? You don't have a heart if you don't love baby
There's
goats.
a good picture of me and my pivot shirt on sitting in some hay holding a little baby goat a couple years ago. We have our little in-house fall fest.
Yeah.
And we go out and we have them bring their baby goats out. And I got one of the best smiles I've ever had holding that little goat sitting there in the hay.
Yeah.
Mhm.
Yeah. I don't know what it is. There's something about it. It just makes you feel like a kid again, man. Everything when you're with those little goats, everything goes away.
Yeah. Therapy.
Yeah, it's weird.
It is.
Yeah, I don't know if it's like that with with all animals and stuff on the farm, but it seems like that's a little different to me, the outsider. Maybe it's the same for you.
I think we feel the same.
We feel the same. Yeah.
The goats just have such distinct personalities.
Yeah.
It's not like a cow and it's not like a lamb. We've had sheep as well.
Some of them are some mean little, what's though.
They are.
Every once in a while, I see one or two of them. I'm like, you're the biggest bully there ever was in this farm.
Yes.
What do you do? What do you do with that one or two? What do you do with them? Oh, we're not going to talk about it. Is that what's going on? Is that what's going on, Tony?
We try to sell those to locals.
So anybody in the area that's buying goats from the Wrights,
Watch out.
watch out. It's going to be
Watch
one
out.
that's got an
The
attitude.
troublemaker.
We try to sell those to the locals. What's fun about the farm? What's fun about it? Because it's a lot of work, right?
It is a lot of work, but man, I don't know. Every day is enjoyable. I mean, it has its moments. It's hot. It's sticky. It's fences down. Cows are out. Somebody's sick, needs some antibiotics. So there are those moments, but just being out in nature and the fresh coolness of the mornings as the sun's coming up, or the evenings when the sun's going down, and it's utopia for me anyway. It may not be for everybody,
But it is for you.
it is for me.
So it's like a lot of guys these days, if they're not on the farm and they have these normal 9 to 5 jobs, they just love mowing their lawn.
Yeah.
You get to do that every day, though.
Yeah.
Throughout the day.
Sure.
Yeah. What do you love about it? That he does all.
That he does all of the manual labor mainly. No, it is peaceful.
Yeah.
We are very fortunate to live in such a place that, it's so peaceful. To look out on the hills and see the cattle healthy, they're thriving, hopefully living their best life, right? The goats are doing their thing. Susie and Pearl are watching over everyone. It's a very nice life.
Yeah, I think how lucky are we, huh?
Very, very. I mean, there's something almost primal about going out to the garden and picking some green beans and bringing them into the house and washing them and throwing them in a skillet and sauteing them for a minute and, raising your own source of food. I don't know. It's just, it's different.
Yeah. We're fortunate and lucky. What are you excited about? Can you see, what does the 3 to 5 year business plan look for Tony and Rachelle? What's it look like?
I think what we're doing now, broader scale on Roadtripzee. In 5 years, we sure would love to have firsthand content from all 50 states. We would like to have growing communities in all 50 states, or let's just say at least 25 in 3 years. We sat down last fall and kind of mapped this out and said, is this crazy? And that's when we decided to elevate everything with fresh branding and a brand new website. And so, it's things that sound crazy, things that sounded plausible a year ago may sound crazy today, right? That's part of building things. Or things that sounded, crazy last night, maybe like, no, I didn't mean that. But so I think we're on trajectory to just continue staying true to the brand, which is the DNA of, we want real people having real experiences out there. We don't want to be scraping content from anyone else. And people are showing up to be a part of the team. So that's really been exciting for us in maybe this is worth doing sort of, because you think you have a good idea, right? When you talk.
People buy into it.
Yes.
They're buying into it. And when they do that, they're solid.
Mm-hmm.
It's hard to be good at something you don't believe in, but when you believe in it.
True. So I think knowing that people are showing up is a boost for us too, right? And I think Kentucky Content continues in its trajectory. We work for amazing people. We're very fortunate in that way. I think the farming continues. Mm-hmm. It'll be interesting to see how things shift with our own children's decisions.
With the farm.
Yeah, with the farm. And because I think we'll always be, if they're deciding that they are going to take something else on, I can't imagine us not, swerving a little bit and assisting and helping if we can, how we can, with those things. So so the answer is we don't really have a 5-year plan other than we're going to keep watching the Petri dishes and figuring out what's happening and doing our best to cover those things.
Keep doing what we're doing.
Yeah. Doing it better every day.
Methodically, persistently.
Long-term focused.
Long-term, yeah.
That we talked about earlier.
We haven't really used this word picture, but he's a pretty good chess player, you can imagine. And our son, definitely a great chess player. They used to play all the time together. But all of these things, these are long games, and when you're talking about content, you're talking about, you have to be excited about a puzzle box because everything's always changing with content, and we have to figure out what is working next. And had to learn TikTok and blah blah blah, AI, and so all these things. So I think we just continue on the trajectories that we're on. Hopefully, everything, especially Kentucky content. I mean, Kentucky road trips and Roadtripzee, hoping for greater monetization so that the team can continue building, so that the content streams can continue, because we are very committed to that being consistently fresh content.
What makes a good chess player?
Being able to see 4 or 5 moves ahead.
Well, don't the Grandmasters see like 15 or 20?
Probably.
Well, come on now, Grandmaster Tony, let's go.
Well, I don't necessarily have the motivation to get to that point of being a chess player, but I'm content 4 or 5 moves.
4 to
ahead.
5 moves.
Yeah.
All right. What do you do coming out of the gate? What's the first move? You're up. Who goes first, black or white?
White.
What's the first move? Never played anybody before. It's the first move. Is it one of the middle pawns? Or are you coming on the edge? What are you doing?
It varies. Depends on who I'm playing.
I was fixing to say, it depends on, yeah.
Okay, you're playing me.
Well, I know nothing about
I know that. That's what I'm saying. You don't know anything about me.
I'm going to play conservatively. I'm going to move up a pawn.
1 move or 2 in the middle.
2.
You're moving it out 2.
Yeah.
If I match the same move, what's your second move?
Another pawn.
It's right beside it?
Yep, 2 moves.
Okay. I've played a little bit growing up.
Okay.
Okay. And then you're going to back that up with others on the sides to protect those?
Yeah.
Boy, if we had extra time today.
And the first game is always the learning, right? When you're,
I always lose the first games. Like, that's me in life. I always learn but if I keep playing, I'm going to win.
Sure.
All right. That's it. I never want to stop.
Yeah.
Yeah. Maybe once I win one time, then I'll stop, but I want to keep playing until then.
Now, we had a child like that.
Really?
That's our
Yeah.
daughter.
That's
our middle child.
Our middle child.
And
She's a one and done.
Really?
Yeah.
Win
Okay.
one?
Yeah, she'll stomp you and then she'll
Walk
never
off.
do it again.
Walk off.
Yeah.
What's she doing now?
She is in Henderson, actually Evansville is where she works at TJ Maxx.
She works for TJ Corporate, and
Okay.
she excels at finding dishonest associates.
Oh.
Yeah.
Look at her. Okay.
So it's very analytical.
Yeah.
Yeah. But yeah, so we always learn from the first go, right? But now she would always, like, if all of our kids showed horses when they were growing up, and she would ride out of the arena with the trophy and never have to go back in there again. You understand?
Yeah.
Yeah.
Because
Was it all FFA stuff? Like everybody was involved?
4-H.
Yeah, 4-H.
Okay.
Yeah.
Yeah. We call it FFA up here.
Yeah.
But same. Yeah.
Yeah.
But
But that was very much her. So
do you think they're probably not farmers anymore? It seems like your son might come back and do some stuff. I don't know. They're not farmers, but
well, the daughter in Henderson owns half the goat
Yeah,
herd.
she
Okay.
has stock in the goat herd.
okay.
Yeah.
So they are. I was just wondering if you could have, they were almost brought up and just you couldn't have reproduced this experience of teaching them just great principles and values than raising them on a farm. Just me looking back, I wasn't raised on a farm, but they were all around me, right? It wasn't a farm. We didn't have animals and stuff.
Yeah.
But the values that they learned, probably priceless, and they're tough to reproduce in a lot of other scenarios.
Yeah, I mean, in my opinion, and this is just my opinion.
Your humble opinion.
In my
Mhm.
humble opinion, I think I'll be very careful what I say here. In my humble opinion, getting an education within an agrarian culture is priceless.
Did you finish college too or no?
Yes.
That's fascinating. Where do you guys place the value of that compared to the education of the farm and everything else you've done afterwards?
Go ahead.
We very much value education.
Yeah.
However, we know our educations differ from what exists now on many levels. But there's nothing like doing it, you know?
Yeah. What do you think? I mean, what did you take away from, like the idea of education to me is everything in life,
Sure.
but it's not just a
Absolutely.
traditional form,
No,
Yeah.
right?
that
Yeah.
cannot be it alone.
I've just learned way more. If you take a 4 or 5 year traditional higher education for an undergraduate degree, every other 4 to 5 year segment of my life, if I'm being honest, and that's what we're here doing,
Sure.
I've learned way more in any other 4 to 5 year segment
Mm-hmm. It's a good way to look at it.
Yeah.
by going out, taking action, learning on the job, being around other humans. I just think there's too much time spent versus actually how much we learn. That's the problem I have with it.
Yeah.
I don't know. What was you didn't share what you think about the value versus of that traditional undergraduate degree or education versus the other.
Yeah, I think all forms of education have their place, and I think we can glean truth and insight and information and be educated through a lot of different sources. It doesn't have to be just the traditional 4-year degree. I think that's important and it has its place. But the hands-on experience outside of that, I think really develops and hones and forms who we become.
Yeah.
I think we're at such a different place now. You know, our college degrees were from the 80s.
Yep.
You know?
You had a teaching degree.
Yes.
Right?
Yes.
Of course, you became a teacher for a period until you had kids.
Right.
Right.
But I think now, you know, and there used to be a finite amount of knowledge in the world, right? We could have these books. They may reach to Mars, but we could have a stack of books that held all of our information. Now, there's no way to know it all. There's too many pieces of knowledge floating out there. So now I think the emphasis has to become on being a lifelong learner. You know, you have to be able to get up and take in information, learn how it fits into how you're going to use it.
Mm-hmm.
You know, how it becomes news to use for you.
Yeah,
So,
because all those things that we all learned in undergraduate classes, we can learn all that online now.
Sure. Yeah.
Heck yeah.
We can.
Yeah.
Every piece of it.
Yeah.
In a shorter amount of time than a semester.
Yeah.
I don't know. There's just a lot of wasted time in those rooms catching up or being ahead or behind than the other people in the room. That's what's bad about a big room sometimes, is that there's one person standing in the room teaching at a certain pace, and everyone's learning at a different pace. It's just a really weird way to learn. I don't know. It's tough versus being out on a farm. You know. Go ahead.
This is one topic we haven't even talked about. Yes, yeah, we homeschooled our children, not all 12 years for each of them, but that was one of the most beautiful times of our lives.
Talk about that.
Yeah. So the youngest pretty much demanded that he would never go back to school again. And we listened to him as being someone who knew himself better than anyone else.
I bet he went to elementary school traditionally.
For a season of time.
Yeah,
yes.
yeah.
He didn't start when he went to like second through whatever, but he did want to play baseball. So, you know, there was that, well, if you got to do a semester here if you want to play baseball. But but yeah, and in the end, he was like, baseball's not even worth it, man. You know, so, you know, we really did put our money where our mouth is on this.
Yep.
Saying that education, you know, it's just important to know how to learn, you know, because if you know how to learn and then you know how to analyze that information to make it relevant to what you're doing or need to do, that's all that matters.
You're a problem solver and critical thinker, right?
Yeah.
Mhm.
I mean,
Yeah.
One of the best problem solvers in the world right there.
yeah. He's
You know,
methodical.
Yeah.
Yep. I can imagine putting you on a tractor or on an engine, you're going to get it done.
Yeah.
Mhm.
Yeah.
Yeah. And, you know, so our kids have those abilities. That's another thing, I guess, that would set them apart, really. Work ethic and problem solving.
How was their social interaction? How'd they develop? Because, you know, that's where people try to hit us on the homeschool thing, right?
Sure.
On lacking some of that.
Sure. That's a good question. I mean,
we thought they were normal kids. They weren't weirdos.
Well, of course you all did. You loved them. They're your kids.
yeah.
Yeah.
What do you think? How are they doing out in the world now?
Good. And they had at the time they had a pretty broad social group. I mean, it wasn't indicative of homeschool kids and their friends. They had a broad scope of
And the
friends.
girls all went back to school in high school.
Okay.
The girls both went back to school in high school.
2 girls and 1 boy.
Two girls and
Okay.
1 boy. And
Yeah.
that was their decision. You
Yeah.
know, they wanted their high school years.
You're sitting here talking to a homeschool kid from middle school.
Okay.
Okay. Yeah.
Yep.
So we,
Went back to high school because I want to play sports.
Gotcha.
yeah, you get the whole thing.
Baseball.
Yeah.
Football.
Football.
Okay.
Yeah, I was a pretty well-rounded athlete in general, but I was behind though because I wasn't already in the group of the kids that came up playing
Yeah.
and all this stuff. But
It seems like you're doing well socially.
I think,
I don't
but
know.
I'm gonna.
We could ask some of these guys behind the scenes later.
The
and
guy's
see.
got charisma, is what they say. Don't talk to him about the rest of it. But no, I
Yeah.
think. But it was good. I went back my junior year, and it was good. It was good that I did for all sorts of reasons. But I'm glad that I missed those bad. Those kids are bad in middle school.
It's rough. It
They're
can be
bad.
rough.
That's when you end up getting your clan.
Yeah.
And I was protected from not. I was protected, not intentionally, but just not being around it. I think I benefited from not being around that middle school period, around all those other kids. So, but we were really independent. We grew up. There wasn't. I didn't have anybody tell me what to do. I had older siblings, and so I kind of lived the life they lived.
Mhm.
So it was a fascinating childhood that I was able to have.
Yeah.
But the middle school, the experience of homeschooling, I'm glad I did it. It benefited me in ways that made me believe that I could do a lot of things.
Yeah.
the confidence.
Yes.
And
Yes.
yeah, and we didn't homeschool because we were anti
Good point.
traditional methods. It's just that we wanted to broaden our children's horizons and experiences in their education, give them a broader world view.
That's what I'm talking about, right? You start thinking about this when I said you put them in a room with one teacher and everybody's learning differently. That's why your mind went there.
Mhm.
It's like you believed you could take that same amount of time and you could grow them exponentially more.
Yeah.
Mhm.
Okay, well,
And we genuinely liked our kids. We still like our kids.
do they like you?
They'll let us
They
know.
do now.
They'll let us know.
At 16 and 17, they didn't like us very much. but-
Yeah.
Well, and yeah, so we wanted to be with them.
Yeah.
And it was a fun time. And I do think, they would do anything for each other.
And for you guys.
Yes.
Yeah.
Yep.
And I think that closeness was really cemented during those years.
I could sit here and talk to you guys like forever. I think that I was speaking to someone last night and we talked about, I just talked about this guy from Western Kentucky, this insurance guy. And I said, man, he's just one of the nicest people. And I was talking to someone else last night about someone else that was just nice. And I said, you know what? I like that we all have differences. I guess it makes the world exciting and
Sure.
cool. But culturally, in my utopian, idealistic world, if we would all just act like some of the best people I know, this place would be much better. Like we could, right? Just how you can just have general respect for another human being. I don't have to want to be friends with them. I don't have to agree with their politics, agree with their religion, but just have just natural mutual respect that that's a human. Say hi to them, hold a door open, right? You see them broke down the side of the road, help them change a tire. Do those types of things. This life
Yeah. I mean,
would be incredible for everyone.
to me, to us, it's a no-brainer.
To me too.
I mean, it's simple, but it doesn't happen.
But I think everybody has to, not to get into too much spirituality here, but I think everybody spiritually has to be at a good place, where they're feeling a sense of calm and peace within themselves, where they have energy they can give away to other people. I think that is something we're also, as a culture, we tend to be so driven, so tense, so next thing we don't see the person.
Well,
we
need to work.
certainly don't have time to
We-
see the person.
We need to work on that. I just listened to one of our we're strong. I do a book study every once in a while for some of our. We have a couple hundred realtors at my real estate company, and We do book studies. We did one on Everything is Figure Outable. A lady named Marie Forleo, she wrote that one. We did one on the 21 Irrefutable Principles of Leadership by John Maxwell. We did that. We did one a few years ago. I did for 30 or 40 people about the compound effect, about how everything in life compounds. But last night, I was here later last night with some folks. I really valued the idea of having strong relationships with all the people that work at the company that I run. We're all going to sell some houses, make some money, make some investments, but it's just more about our lives, what we have going, helping each other improve, grow, not just in a professional way, but in a personal way. Because I have this idea that if you work more on yourself than on your job's probably going to have a better outcome too. It's about us. It's about our mindset. And so someone sent me this morning, and I listened to it. Hey, there we go. Somebody wants to record some content on a Wednesday.
Love it.
Yeah. So I listened to this, and I think everyone should. And I'm not just some huge big advocate of Oprah Winfrey. I'm not sitting here. I'm not some fanboy and all that. I don't even listen to her podcast ever. But someone sent me this podcast from August 14th of this year, and it was super soul special, a guy named Daniel Goleman. And I'm not somebody who loves all these Harvard folks and all that, but he wrote a book in 1995 about emotional intelligence, and it stayed #1 New York Times bestseller. I've read so many books. I can't believe I didn't read this one. This 36-minute listen between him and Oprah is brilliant about the idea of emotional intelligence, about mindset, about the spiritualness, right? And so it's way more simple than the complication that we make it and we put on it.
Yeah.
Yeah. And I don't care what we've been through. I don't care what type of hardship or whatnot. I don't want to compare lives, but no matter what people have been through, it's like, man, we're on our own journey. You can actually still live a great life.
Sure.
Doesn't matter what somebody's done to you or what they've put you through,
Yeah.
right? What cult you've been in, all that doesn't matter, right? You can read some books and gain an upper hand. So sitting here talking to you guys, just be like the Wrights, man. But don't just sell the mean goats
to your neighbors.
Unless you have to.
Do you put a discount on them at least, like mean discount or
Pretty
something?
much give them away.
Do you guys, is this farm open for people to come to and see?
We're not really set up for visitors.
Okay.
But, if somebody were to contact us and say, hey,
If someone comes a knocking,
we really would love to just stop by for a minute.
you're not going to
We're
turn
not
them
going
away.
to turn them away.
Yeah. I just want to sit with the baby goats.
We have a lot of friends who will say that. I
Yeah,
think
we have
that
a lot of
needs-
people stop.
We, the relationships we hold dear and have cultivated, which are important.
Yeah.
That's the stuff of life, right? But yeah, they'll text and say, "Can I just get some baby goat time? I just need some baby goat time." And we understand because we need baby goat time too. I mean, it's something that doesn't grow old, really.
What's going to happen as you two grow old?
We figure we've got at least 5 more decades in us.
You said that in the beginning. I wanted to get to this as we were wrapping up
Yeah.
today.
I mean,
Y'all have lost your dang minds.
Well, I mean, the both of us have always said we're going to work till we die. There is no retirement or settling out and moving to Florida or anything. Not that there's anything wrong with any of that.
Just not your path.
It's not our thing. And as long as we continue to love and enjoy what we do, no matter what we do, we're going to do it until we die. And
What he said,
farming's going to be a part of that.
50 more years.
Yeah.
I mean, we think we can.
Well, of course you can. Somebody's going to.
So we turned 55 this year.
You guys are 55.
Yeah.
I'm not.
You're 54.
I'm 54.
But he turns 55 this year.
But I'm able to get her senior coffee discount at McDonald's.
And it makes
now.
him so happy in the morning.
He just makes you happy because he can poke you about it.
Yeah.
That's all.
Exactly.
So, and I consider it an elevation. I have now graduated from regular citizenship to senior citizenship. So I've unlocked an achievement for sure. He turns 55 in December. We were both born in 69, a very illustrious year.
Is it January and December? What is it?
July.
Okay, so you
July
just turned.
and December,
Yeah.
yeah. So, we, our parents were lively. When his dad passed away, he had was still doing his regular exercises every day, for the 2 weeks when he passed. And, they lived until it was their time to go. And my parents are in their 80s, and they keep our 1-year-old grandson every day. I mean, they're all, the three of them, living their best life.
Mm-hmm.
They are just, I hope our grandson will remember some smidgen of this someday. But so, I mean, we've again come from people who did it, that we're just kind of following in their footsteps. They lived until they didn't. And we want to do that too.
All in all the time.
Yeah.
Yeah. But we don't want to set ourselves up. We have regular nights where we get done pretty early. Tony is a master at sourdough pizza making. Pretty much every night of the week, he'll say it's only 4 or 5, but if I can get 7, we'll do 7. So
I love me some pizza too, man.
Yeah.
Love pizza.
We do too.
We love
I
pizza.
drive Jenna crazy. She don't even ask me what I want to eat. Let's just go get some pizza.
Yeah.
Yeah.
We love pizza. So he'll make pizza every night. It's a very chill thing. You can't make sourdough pizza quick.
Is it? Do you do it? Do you have an outdoor pizza kitchen and all that, or just do it inside?
I do. Our kids got me one of those outdoor ovens, but I still just use our indoor
Oven.
Yeah.
So, I mean,
Gas.
I just don't want us to project that we're just like super ridiculously on all the time. We still have very, very chill moments.
Yeah.
I mean, look at these sunglasses you rolled in here with.
Would you like me to put those?
I
back
mean,
on?
yeah, this is special stuff here.
Thanks.
If
These are my sunnies.
you
You
call them sunnies.
they're my sunnies. And he has to find them for me. They're like $4.73, I think, on Amazon.
How often how many pairs have you bought?
If he can't find pairs, we'll buy some more.
Yeah.
So-
I think this is her third pair.
Is it?
Yeah.
Hmm.
But yeah, I mean, they're lovely. So our relationship is one where he really makes things happen.
Yeah.
And finds a lot of stuff. So
You guys, y'all are lucky. And I don't use that word. I'm not saying lucky in life. You're lucky as 17-year-olds.
true.
For real. That you found each other then.
Yeah.
You're lucky. Like,
Yeah.
that's the luck part.
Yeah.
Mhm.
Right? Most people end up with someone. But you're lucky because the evolution and the maturity that you've gone through life and all the battles and all the ups and downs that you both get here 30-something years later. And you're this connected. You're this plugged in. You're happy about life. You've had 3 kids, and now you have grandkids. And talking about your parents, just this life, you're lucky that those 17-year-old kids met. Because, I mean, maybe you're an old soul. You are. He's an old soul. But still at 17, we didn't know what the hell we were doing.
No.
And for you to go that 1 o'clock in the morning, no matter what move that was or not, for a
Sure.
17-year-old kid,
Sure.
I was pretty smooth, but I wasn't that good. I just wanted to make sure you got home. Listen.
Well, back to that story.
Mm-hmm.
Okay. So here's the bottom line. Here's the core of my decision that night, I think. Number one, I was interested in her. Didn't know, if it was going to be a long-term thing or not, but I was interested in her, and I genuinely cared about whether she got home safely that night. Those 2 factors in that one decision.
And then you had no option then.
No.
Once a boy tells you that at 17,
Yeah.
it's game over.
Done.
See, that's the spirit of who you were as a human. You
Yeah.
genuinely cared. That's something about your upbringing or whoever you were or are.
Mm-hmm.
That's still the same guy you got here.
Absolutely.
Right. Yeah. What do you guys have as we can wrap this up? We've been here since 12:47. I said talk to you guys. I could for a long, long time. What about how important it is about the people you surround yourself with? About the friends your kids had, about the people you all spend time around. How important is that for life?
One thing we said to our kids repetitively is iron sharpens iron, rocks dull rocks. We said that over and over and over, and we believe it for ourselves.
So what's that mean?
It means that
It means you tend to become like those you
yeah,
hang around the most.
And
if you hang around with sharp knives, then you're going to get sharper. If you hang around with a bunch of rocks, then you're going to get
More dull.
dulled down.
Yeah.
Yeah. As much as you can in life, I think it's important. And we all do have control of what we're doing and who we're gathering around us and who ends up in our circles. Work related issues, sometimes we can't help that there's a fluke situation we may have not chosen for ourselves. But I think it's important for people to understand the power they have to choose for themselves. I think sometimes people have a victim mentality that may be too harsh of a
It's not too harsh.
thing to, yeah. But that they can't control that, and you really can.
Yeah.
With Kentucky Content, we work with people who we want to work with. We do not work with people who we don't believe are a good fit for us.
Yeah.
And when you rise, they rise, and when they rise, you rise.
Yeah, tide rises all ships, right?
Mhm.
Yeah. The so where does everybody come in? Since we're not allowed to knock on the door of the farm and having goat time. We didn't put the address of the farm out. We're not going to, Dave, don't do it. Since we didn't do that, it's Kentucky Farm Life, it's Kentucky Content, it's Roadtripzee, but what's the best place? Where do we go? Just go on YouTube and find Kentucky Farm Life and see y'all hanging out with the Great Pyrenees and the goats. What's
Yes,
the best
that's
place?
a lovely. So Roadtripzee is probably the easiest way to communicate with us. You can go on there and sign up for our newsletter and see all the information. We also have Kentucky Farm Life. You can do the same through that. All roads lead to us. We do have a team, but if there's messages or anything, our team they're wonderful communicators.
Charles,
So-
you're all too dang big. We can't even talk to y'all now. I thought you were good Central Kentucky folk sitting on the Green River. What the heck's happened here today?
Yeah, our team, we have a great team.
Yeah. You couldn't be here doing this and going your little road trip if you didn't.
That's
exactly.
true.
Yeah.
Very true.
What do we miss out on here today? What do we miss on? What else we need to talk about? We've talked about dogs and goats and rivers and
Kids.
right? And we've talked about life and what we're supposed to do. We've talked about at 17, at 12 years old, you seeing him and roping him in over 5 years.
Yeah.
What the heck's going on? 1 o'clock in the morning coming back and just putting spells on you.
I think that is, I guess, the best example of the long play, right?
You too?
Huh?
You
Yeah.
too?
Yeah.
It is for us.
Mm-hmm. And, again, back to
Or
when
I'd say it's worked well for us.
Yeah. And I mean, we've had our struggles. He
Sure.
came in 7 years into the marriage. He came in and he said, find us a counselor. I found them now. And I said, okay. I called Dad and I said, we're going to go to marriage counseling. Can you keep the kids? He was like, sure, absolutely. If that's what y'all need to do, do it. So, I mean, again, we don't want to project that we haven't. There have been things we fought for, we worked through,
How awesome of a dad, though, and a father-in-law. Like, if that was truly his response to not get involved, I don't know how involved he got, but if it was that simple, like, yeah, do what y'all got to do, man, see, there's so many things that you guys have benefited from in life.
Absolutely.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah.
I mean, gosh, that's gold right there.
And so our counselor said, when's the last time y'all dated? And when's the last time y'all just sat on the couch together? Of course, we had 2 toddlers, but there was no time we could remember really. So he said, as much as you can, you got to
date still.
You got to date.
Yeah.
And so I called Dad and I said, and Mom's great too, but it seems like Dad was just the one answering the phone at these times. And I said, so we were going to counseling once a week and then past that, could you bring? So our kids grew up. They don't remember a time when this wasn't true for them. They spent 1 night a week at Granny's house. So we had 1 night a week where we would drop them off. We would have the entire night. We would pick them up the next morning.
Yep.
And it bolstered their relationship.
And yours too.
And ours too.
Sure. And
So-
one of the things, one of the very first things the counselor told us were, and I'll never forget it, is during that first session is he looked at us and he said, you're not some horrible people. You're not idiots. You're not, dumb. You're hitting a tough time and we'll work through it. Because, when we went into that first counseling session, I was feeling really bad about who we were as individuals and what horrible things we were doing wrong. And he just kind of lightened
That you were failures.
Yeah.
Yeah. And
Were
what
we on the brink of failure?
and what
Yeah,
he knew was this is more normal than you'll know.
Exactly.
he did
Yeah.
for sure.
Yeah. Man, so many good fortunate moments. Like even probably the counselor you had and having dad
Yes.
and all this stuff.
Yeah.
But
Wow.
it all, a life is not built.
It's called the
And
pursuit of happiness.
That's right. It's
Yeah.
right. It's life is not built in a day.
Yeah.
It's all the moments, and you have to choose for yourself what you will do in that moment.
Choices.
Choices.
Mr. Not Talk a Lot over here. Mr. Reliable. What are we missing here as we wrap this up? I appreciate you guys coming up today. You make me smile the rest of the day. When I go to complain about something today, if I do, I'm going to think about you and I'm going to smack myself. That's what I'm going to end up doing. Be like,
Then we've done our job.
there you go, right? You've affected me properly today.
Yeah.
Thank you guys.
Oh, thanks for having us.
Thank you. Really
Yeah.
enjoyed it.
Follow Kentucky content if you're somewhere in do they have to be local or they have to be central Kentucky companies?
We want to have really strong relationships.
So they need to be right now.
So yeah. Right. And we don't have a grand plan to grow out of that.
Yeah.
We don't want to, we like our boutique, or not boutique, but our small batch way.
So us normal folks that we don't get to participate in that if we want to help with our social media,
Mhm.
just go to Roadtripzee and find you guys.
Mhm.
And somebody's
Absolutely.
going to respond
Yes,
Yes.
absolutely.
because you got a team now.
Yeah. It's our kids.
Yep. And I bet one or two other people helping a little bit here and there.
They do.
Yeah.
Mhm.
As we finish up, one final question. If you weren't here and we replaced this with 3 of your kids on microphones and you're not
Lord
in the
have
room,
mercy.
and you're not in the room,
Mhm.
and I said, tell me about your parents. What do you think they would say? Not hope. What do you think they would say?
I know they would say that our parents are madly in love with each other, have been their whole life, and that our mom is the outspoken, fiery one, and my dad is the laid-back, chill guy. And they're both solid, loyal people.
That's a great question. I think he nailed it. I think they know. I think they know us. I don't think they would sugarcoat too much.
They're lucky to have you guys.
Thanks.
There's no doubt. There is no doubt that if every group of 3 kids could have you guys in your imperfect ways, you're setting them up for a great life.
Thanks.
Good job. Now you just get to smile and have fun and pass the grandbabies back to them.
That's what
Yeah.
we're doing. That's exactly
And
what we're
laugh
doing.
when they leave, right?
That's See y'all. Thanks for coming.
When you need to call the counselor, just call me. We'll watch them.
That's right.
Yeah.
We have started.
Yeah.
We have started keeping
Good.
Jeb overnight. Yeah.
Jeb, of course.
Yeah.
Of course. Right? Straight country folk. Here we
Yeah.
go, right?
Exactly.
Thank you guys.
Oh, thanks for having us.
Follow you. Give them all the money. Give them your eyeballs. Every 1,000,000 views gives them a few more dollars in their pocket to buy more baby goats, and they sell the bad ones to the neighbors.
That's the strategy.
Okay.
That's the business plan.
Do that with friends and everybody in life, y'all. Get rid of the bad ones.
Yeah.
Oh.
Thank y'all.
Thank you.
All right.
Thank you.
Mhm.